Algernon's October with the check-in with Hip Hop United. Behind every superstar is a powerful woman that walks beside them, ensuring that they're constantly surrounded by love and support. Most of us are unaware of the sacrifices that are made in order to see these gifted loved ones in the spotlight walking in their purpose. But today, we get an opportunity to not only gain a better understanding of what life looks like behind the scenes for our next guest, but we also get a chance to see how she was able to triumph over trauma and tell her story. We welcome the ultimate ride or die, Tashera Simmons. How you doing?
Woo! Now I'm doing fine, feeling blessed and highly favored.
We are so honored to have you here to witness your rebirth in person. So let's talk about what life looks for you right now. You got a new book, Dying to Self. Tell me why you decided to write it and what that title means. Let's start there.
Okay, so what life looks like for me right now is definitely the rebirth. I am finally doing something that I love, and I'm not only just speaking on my marriage and my ex-husband. It's really about me and this precious gem that I have put out called Dying to Self. What made me put out Dying to Self is because the world is getting very dark. It's getting darker by the minute, by the hour, by the day, by the month, by the year. And I say that because I am coming across people in the industry, outside of the industry, that I can I can tell off the back that they have lost themselves, that they are not living in their truth.
Mm.
And it's starting to be hard for me to find people that are really living in their truth. And I am raw, and I've always been raw. And I always felt that there was something wrong with me for being raw and transparent because even as a kid, when I would, just be so brutally honest, where my mom or my dad would say, well, those things you don't talk about, baby. And that didn't do me any good.
Mm.
It taught me how to suppress and not to be honest about my feelings. So I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm tired of that because um, my biggest learning curves were when people were honest and testified to me about their truth. And it made me start to realize, you know what, Tashera? You don't need to be like everybody else. God has uniquely made you a certain way for a reason. And it's time for you to come out of that space of whatever that space is, being accepted to society the way everybody expected me to be. So I had to start fasting and I started to pray and I started to get aligned with God and I started to figure out my purpose through that. And I said, you know what? I started to do a lot of speaking engagements, and a lot of people would be crying as I speak because I used to just get so deep, and I guess I was relatable, especially from the different panelists that was talking a lot about surfacey stuff, and I was hitting areas that was touching them in their lives. I know that now. I didn't know that then. And then afterwards, they would say, like, how did you get through that? How did you do that? And I would just say, God, because that was the only way for me to sum it up. And then they would look at me and they say, oh, okay, that's nice. But like, how did you really do it? And I was like, I realized that, if you really know God, that should be enough. But people don't want to take those steps to get to know him, which is detaching yourself from the things of this world, all the distractions that, that people that they don't realize is this a distraction until they come out of that space,
Right.
and align with God. So I needed to really sit with myself, sit with God. And I wrote this book, Dying to Self, because it's literally what it says. I had to strip. First of all, I've been fighting a war from the time I was a young girl.
Yeah.
Then I meet my ex-husband at 11. We got together that we were 17. 10 years before that, it was beautiful. We were dealing with the regular struggles of life. We had to put our little coins together to get our food. And,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He had his little drug habits, but it wasn't out of control. Or, we had to find a place to stay. People, I envy people who only have those little problems. Those problems, when you are, all of a sudden go from having nothing to millions of dollars. people now start to care. People start not now want to know what you're doing, what you up to, what makes your marriage work, and all the things that we have. I can have fake jewelry on, but people don't, because I have millions of dollars, they think
They don't
they're
know.
real.
Yeah.
And I went through that too, because to be totally honest with you, I was such a modest, don't really care about anything type of a person. Just as long as you good, I'm good. I used to go out and buy like fake jewelry, millions of dollars. I was like accessories, fake diamonds, stuff like that. Ex was like, "That's not real, is it?" I said, "No, it's not." He was like, "Oh, you're not going outside with that?" And I was like, "Why not?" He was like, "You ain't going out like that when I'm being my wife." So I just, I was just like, "Okay, well, you got to buy it because I am not spending all that money." Because I was the person that was making sure all his manager got paid, his road manager got paid, his assistants got paid, our businesses, our houses, um, everything, the road, the hotels. I mean, I was the one working alongside with everyone to make sure that everything ran right. But I forgot about myself. And I also saw how plastic that world was. So, and that God wasn't in a lot of it. So I just had to put all of that together in all my life and my experience and say, you know what, God, help me do this because I don't know how to convey to your people that you are the one and the only one, the truth, the light, the everything. Like I can't, everyone's they admire me so much, God, but they don't want to hear that it's you, the forefront of my life. So that's what dying to self is really about. And the more I started to write it and get into it, I started really dying to my flesh because I realized that the flesh is where the emotions lie. It's where where you can really hurt me when I'm in my emotions. And I didn't really see myself the way people saw me. I saw myself as this young woman who came out of poverty with their childhood sweetheart, the love of their life. He hit big. Wow, never saw that coming. And now I'm just grateful to see him walk into his purpose. But he also used to say to me, Tashera, you have a purpose too. And I was like, I know, Earl, it's to be your wife, to make sure that we raise our children. Like, he was struggling with a lot of addictions and self worth, and to see him surpass all of that and to be where he ended up, I was just like, wow. I felt like I had no issues.
Yeah,
I
it's
felt
amazing.
like I made it too. You made it, I made it. But it was more. And I say this that I never was, I had to go through the hurt and pain of our separation, our divorce, because I knew it was getting kind of out of hand. It was getting very out of hand. But now I know, though, that it was God who stripped me from that because my ex husband was my God. As much as I said I was a believer, the way I praised him, the way I let myself go, the way allowed him to get away with the things that's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like it's a boundary. It's got to be boundaries to marriage. Like we to die forever. To what is it? The vows. For better for worse.
Right.
For better for worse. To death do us part. But there's got to be some kind of boundaries there. Because God gave us life too. And yes, there are responsibilities as a husband. There's responsibilities as a wife.
Right.
But love's not supposed to hurt like that. You know what I'm saying? And I know
Yeah.
that my people out there listening and you and whoever that's married, like I had to realize that love was supposed to hurt like that. But I couldn't grasp that until God took it away. And then I realized, I said, wait a minute, my world was revolving around a man. And we serve a jealous God, whoever's listening.
Yeah.
And he have a way of doing things. And here I am now. So I know that God had a purpose and a calling and a plan for my life. And he knew that I was going to be that raw child of God that could endure the attacks of the enemy, because these attacks is different now. They continue to elevate, and God continues to strengthen me in these
Yeah.
places that I never thought I even had the strength. I know I was supposed to have lost my mind by now, and I'm
Nah, you didn't, and you came out of that struggle and that rebirth to be what we see today. And you had a very interesting as well as traumatic childhood. Like, can you talk about your relationship with your parents and how that impacted your family dynamic going forward?
yeah. So growing up, you know, I was in an Islam Muslim family. I was raised as a Muslim. I took my Shahada when I was 7. And for those who don't know, that's almost like a baptism, like in Christian, in Islam. For Islamic Muslims, Shahada is like a baptism.
Gotcha.
So that's you're getting into the world of Islam and with Allah. And it was a very strict Muslim home. I was one of those of 7 at the time. And my mom was a submissive, cook and clean kind of woman. My dad was hustling, selling incense and oils. And um, I know now, like, he was very, kind of controlling in a sense, because my mom kind of was very passive and allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do. Um, but then my mom left. And we were very close, and I was 14 years old. She said she was going to the store. She never came back. And that was devastating in itself because we were best friends. Me and my dad had an amazing relationship. He was always very nice to me, very intentional about being a strong black woman. And any man that comes in your life, you got to make sure that they don't get the cookies too soon. That's what he used to always call it. And I talk about that in the book. It's in betrayal, which I open up with betrayal because it's something about being betrayed by your parents. No child should ever have to go through that. Unfortunately, I guess, God created a certain cloth for me because, I endured that very gracefully. God put people in my life, took me on, my godmother, because me and my god used to hang out all the time. I was in and out of the house with my siblings, but we were all kind of scattered. I did the best I could, but my dad he went from a loving father to uplifting me and getting me ready for the world to, you ain't nothing but a bitch and a hoe, and where was you at? You better give me that money. You ain't living in my house for free. And would take my
Mm,
whole paycheck. So only was $60. I was working at Burger King. I was only 14. And, he said, you ain't never going to be nothing but babies and welfare. He said that so many times. And
dang.
I'm learning now that a lot of times when your parents speak to you and speak into your life like that, they have a lot, women and men, they have a lot of issues growing up. But somehow, by the grace of God, I was like, I'm going to be everything that you said I am. Not everything you said I'm going to be, I'm not going to be that.
Right.
And it was a hard task to take on without going to drugs, to alcohol, because that's what he started. Now I know that now. I didn't know that then. I didn't understand why he changed on me so much. But, now as a parent, and I don't speak to all men, but, my dad couldn't take on by himself with 7 kids in a clear mind. He had to suppress with drugs and alcohol. And that was another thing. Like, when my separation happened, you know, I was like, okay, I know what I'm not gonna do
Right.
because I know how my kids would feel because I've already went through that. So I'm still, to be honest with you, trying to figure out how I didn't succumb to drugs or alcohol. Like, I socially drink. Not even like if I feel like it's usually in holidays. I have some wine,
Yeah.
but like I'm not really like any kind of sweet drink. But for some reason, I did the total opposite, and I'm really still trying to get to the bottom of that because, and that's why I said it could only got to be God. It got to be the soul, like the spirit of God that lives in me,
Hmm.
that was able to orchestrate and keep me in line. The Holy Spirit when I was so lost and broken as a little girl. I mean, I was offered to strip. Someone, a friend of my sisters was stripping at the time, and even though it was a different time, and like in the 80s and the 90s, so early 90s, so there was no social media. You kind of get away with whatever you wanted to get away
Right.
with. And she was like, "You'll make so much money. All you gotta do is drink." just be numb. You'll leave with $500,000-$600,000 a night. And I was broke. I was living with people, like, but I refuse to settle for that. And maybe it was a teaching of my dad at such a young age, but I don't know. Sometimes I look and I see how, and I'm not judging anybody
Right.
because, I'm raising a daughter now, and it aggravates me sometimes how fragile she is for the smallest things. I'm like, just now she got in a car accident. She was nothing wrong with her. Somebody hit her. That's what I was listening to as I was coming in. Her front bumper is hanging off. And she's like, Mom, she's like crying. I'm like, are you okay?
Right.
This just happened literally on my way here. And I'm like, are you okay? Yes, nothing was wrong with me. I said, so you're crying like this for a car? Something that is tangible? I was like, we'll take care of that.
Yeah, we're just happy you're alive.
Yeah, I'm just happy,
Just happy
you
you're
ain't got
okay.
one bruise on your body.
Absolutely.
You can use my car and finish up your errands, and I'll deal with it when I get home. And I'm just like, that's why I said I'm not trying to judge. I'm even using my own daughter for an example.
Right.
I'm just like, I don't know where this strength comes from. And that's why I wrote this book, because I said it has to be nothing but God. So in my book, it's not a run-on chapters. It's literally serious, deep, hurtful situations where I turned it around, where I found God in it. I use scriptures, I use a lesson, I use a outro and an affirmation, because I'm trying to, any reader who reads this book, I want them to not only walk away with a scripture, but a lesson. Like, I don't want them to leave with nothing for the mind, like, wow, but I wonder what she meant about that. No, I want you to get it. I want it to get into your soul,
Fully
into
understand.
your spirit. So you
Yes,
can
you
know how
called it
to.
a self-help.
Yes, it's self-help. So
Yeah.
that way they can navigate this thing called life alive. Because their suicide rate is too high. And that's nothing but the devil coming in. And with that being said, I know that's why I'm getting attacked. It all makes sense to me in the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's coming to me right now, that the normal human being will have broken to pieces, I'm just like, all right, that's all you got? Because I know who my God is. I know who's going to get the victory in the end.
Yep.
This is just a process. Okay, what do you want? What are you trying to do now, God? Like, what are you trying to teach me? Because there's always a lesson in everything. Because God is always in the detail, in the worst situations. I mean, I lost my dad. I talk about that too. My best friend last year, and he cleaned up his act. I honor at the end, when me and ex broke up, he got clean.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Yes, he turned his whole life around and was the most amazing grandfather to my kids. And even to his last breath, he was like, daughter, I've done my job. And I was like, why are you talking like this? Because what he was looking like was going inside of him.
Yeah.
The doctor said he wasn't showing, and he wasn't on any meds, nothing. And he was just at peace. He just said, I've done my job, daughter. And he was always that spirit. And, that's why I try not to judge addicts,
Yeah.
But at the same time, how long y'all gonna let this go on, though? I'm just saying, though.
We were talking before the show. We've got some common ground in
So
that
that's why I'm
area.
like,
So we understand there. And speaking kind of that, especially with the abandonment that you face and also the abandonment that DMX faced, how did two people that endured such dysfunction and trauma at a young age fall in love and built a life together?
because okay, so because I'm going back when I speak about that stuff, like with me and him in the beginning, I literally go right back to that place. So when these two broken kids got together, oh man, we were so innocent, so driven to be better people than our parents was. And that's what brought us together. When we got together, we talked about what we were going through at that moment in time, because we met so young. And we both was like, I came from like, I didn't have his whole situation was he was one of four, his mother had 4 different fathers, baby fathers. All my siblings was from the same father except the last one when my mom left and had another one.
Right.
So his story was intriguing to me because he was saying how I don't ever want to raise. And when I when I find my wife, I want to be with only one woman because I know what it feels like to be raised and so scattered in a home with all these different fathers. And then I was like, listen, I don't know anything else. So when I meet someone, if you're the one, this is the first night we met. I said, like, I don't want to do that either. Like, it's very important for me to be with someone who knows who they are and wants to create a solid family. So that's what we were driven on. And I was so I knew what I wanted. I was working at a bank. I was very at the time now I was 17 when we got back together. I was a check processor at a bank. He was out hustling, trying to get his music off the ground. And which I, to be totally honest with you, and I always talk about this to my kids, I didn't think that was important. I was like, that ain't bringing no money in. You selling these little $5 tapes, that is not enough money compared to the money I was bringing.
Right.
But I'm like 17, and he's 17, and he was like, no, I'm gonna be famous one day. And I was like, that's nice, but you need to get a better job. So he started working with his uncle doing construction and painting, and he painted our first apartment. And that's why I said the first 10 years, the struggle was so beautiful. And if that even makes any sense, but the struggle that I'd have to deal with now and what I had to deal with going into this business. But I don't want to jump off with you. The question is that because we wanted to be better people, we were by no means, like all means necessary. I don't know if I ever said that right, but we needed to be the better parents that our parents wasn't to us, to our children, to our friends. Like we never well, I had friends. He didn't have many friends. He had like 2 or 3 friends. But he just always wanted to be something different. Like, oh, this is what he was big on. He would always say, and I was the same way, but someone that was so dysfunction, just like I was, we were big dreamers. And that's why I'm using him as an example because I love the Brady Bunch. And he loved, I forgot what this show was, but he loved the family dynamics of that. Yeah. And we were both like, yes, that's what we want. So that's why, like, as soon as he seemed like he was about to get famous, it was like, we need to get married because they don't respect nobody if they're not your wife. Like, and we were together 10 years already. But, like, we really created a beautiful space for our one son at the time, Xavier. We were so connected. You know, he was so supportive of, everything that I did. He watched Xavier while I went to work. I supported his stuff, even though I was like, you got to do that on the side because we got bills to pay. And no,
Right.
you only made $50 today. Like, I need like help here. But it was so beautiful. And I swear, sometimes I look back on that. I look back on the person he was. I look back on the woman that I was. I felt safe in those first 10 years of our relationship. The problems that we had, we battled them together. And even when I got pregnant with Xavier, I don't think I talk about it in this book, but the first book I talk about it. And, even when I got pregnant, I tried to get an abortion with Xavier. And he said, nah, like he was so angry. He was so angry at me. He said, no, like we gonna do this together. We're gonna do this. And so I'm saying like he was so supportive. So that's why like the world don't know him. The world doesn't know him. They didn't know him. Nobody knew him like me. There are parts of him that no one will ever know. And I'm saying all this to say because, I'm gonna do a movie on my life story and I can't do a movie without him entangled in that was my childhood. Sweetheart, we were ride or die, Bonnie and Clyde, facing the world together, but they tore Bonnie and Clyde up when we got in this industry, honey. I was like, whoa.
Nah. Yeah. Music industry is crazy with that.
Yeah.
What gave DMX so much depth?
I want to say God. He was tapped in when I met him. 17 years old. And I get it now though. Because a lot that he dealt with as far as he was abandoned at 7. literally abandoned. Like mother looking in your face saying, we just gonna try this place out, baby. And next thing you know, he like, where my mother? I can't even imagine at 7 years old. So he was forced to be an adult at 7. I was forced to be an adult at 14. So he had a 7 year advantage over me. And I look at that now because he came in wise. Like this is what I loved about him, because I was like, how you 14 like this? Like I used to say that to him. I was like, you give me my father or my uncles. Like, and he was just like, I had to go through a lot. He had already, besides doing group homes, was in jail by before the age of 17 when we met. When we met, he had not went back to jail up until he got into the industry. He never went back to jail. Before me, he was in and out of jail. Like in group homes, jail, whatever. No, first he was group homes, then he was jail. So what gave him that depth is he always knew who he was, but he needed to find out what his purpose was in life. And music was that outlet for him. Like it was, if you he like I tell everybody, he wrote his first two albums 10 years, and them 10 years of us struggling and being broke, that's why I know every single one of them songs from his first two albums and on. He literally had that in his stash, and when he got signed, never to know, but he did, he always knew. And that's why I always say, like, no matter how bad it got, the good always outweighed the bad, because he was my first. And that's why, and it kind of makes sense. And I'm giving you that story about his depth and, why I can never really speak bad about him, because I learned so much and I did what I needed to do when it wasn't serving me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because I realized it was out of my control. But what gave him that depth is God. He always had God. I always like giving stories and examples so that people could kind of understand where I'm coming from. I hope that you understand too.
No,
Now,
no, you hit it right on there. So it's
okay.
been, I think, 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, since we did lose, what I feel is a hip hop icon as well as a cultural icon.
Mhm.
Can you tell me about the DMX that existed behind closed doors that we didn't get to see? Because you had mentioned a little bit about that earlier. Like, how is he as a father? Like, tell us about the softer side of Dark Man X.
I mean, I broke this down many of times, right? So when I met him, from the time that he was, for the first 10 years, within the first 10 years of I met him, he was Earl. That's who he was born to be. That was the softer side of him. That was the caring, kind person, very intelligent. Then he got signed. He became DMX, the artist who he always wanted to be. He always was saying DMX. He was tagging DMX. He was an artist, graffiti artist for many years, all over trains, down in the city. DMX, Dark Man X. And then he got into the industry, and I saw him. See, I had the back seat to watch all of these different characters transform. So I saw him become DMX. And I was like, okay, you could be DMX, but don't forget about Earl. You know what I'm saying? And I saw DMX really take a turn when he did Belly, because he became Tommy Buns. Like we literally was like, all right, the camera's off. Like you don't have to act like that anymore. And so him and some of his associates, and they were like, he was like, no, until they finish this movie, that's why I gotta be. So I understood, now I do, because he was dropping into his character, but I feel like he never kind of came out of that character. And then because he kind of lost himself in that space, that's we got robbed a couple of times by some accountants. Um, Something wasn't right with the label. Um, it was just a lot of things going on that I was noticing, because I was doing a lot of the books and working with everybody. He didn't take kindly to that. And then he became X. And X was the protector of DMX and Earl. He was very angry. He didn't care. He kind of lost a lot of respect of who, his values and how he looked at himself as a man, as a young boy going into his adulthood of being a man in his business. And, I don't even know if this would make sense to a lot of people because he came in and out of X and DMX. But Earl was gone. Earl was so tucked away so far that the only person that could really bring him out was me. And a lot of people who worked alongside of us saw that. It was like, I never saw that side of him. It was like a little boy. But and I never understood it, to be honest with you either. I just thought that, I bring the better side, the soft side of him. But when you go through so much trauma in your life, you have to start to create certain people. It's because either that or you're going to melt out. Like, there's no way. The type of trauma. And now seeing how fast, I mean, he literally became a star overnight. Like, it happened so fast that I even didn't. I was just like, damn, we can't go to the store. We can't go to the sneaker store now. We get shut into stores. We get locked in. We crowds. We had to escort us out back doors. We just going to try to go get some Timbs and some sneakers. So it literally happened overnight. And that's a lot for a human being to take on, especially someone who hasn't got the healing that they should have gotten, therapy. And how I know that? Because I had that. It was the best thing that ever happened when me and him broke up. I thought it was the worst thing, but it became the best thing because I got a chance to sit with myself. I got a chance to get to know who God is. I got a chance to go to therapy, 9 years, going on 9 years now. And now I'm able to really understand everything. I had all the history, but I had to put it together to understand it fully and understand what happened. What did I see? Because like when I tell you to become poor and famous overnight is not normal. It's not. I don't think it's too much for the natural. It sounds just like we talk about dealing with somebody on drugs. You need to get rid of him. You need to do this. No, it's the same thing. It's not like I'm sure anybody that has been dealt with someone on drugs, that don't happen overnight. It literally is a process that you walk into, and then you're like, how the F did I get here? Because I don't know if I could curse. But it's like, can I curse on it? How the fuck did I get here? Because so it was his success that happened overnight, and the drug. He was never the drugs. The now you have all the money in the world and access to all kind of stuff, and nobody's saying no, and just living in it normal life day to day. You don't really see what's happening until the person's actions and their health starts declining, their mind starts to, and it's just like, people ask me, how do I stay so humble in this business? How did I never get caught up? Because that was very scary to see my best friend gain the world and lose his soul. That's why I refuse to go that route. I don't want to lose my soul in this.
Nah. What advice would you give other women who may have a significant other who's had mother or father issues that they're still working through?
The only thing, I mean, I can only give the advice that I've done with myself, which is, one, you got to get with God. You got to get with our Creator. That's just the bottom line. You can't walk around here talking about, I'm a believer, I'm walking with God, and you're not. You're talking it, but you're not walking it. I was that person before. I could pray with you. I would do all of the talking, but I was not walking. I didn't know that. I wasn't intentionally do that. I just knew I wasn't the devil's child. But it takes more than that. Like, you literally have to lock in. You have to fast. You have to do whatever. And you can meditate. Whatever the distractions are in your life that is blocking you from getting with our Creator, in order to really tap in and heal or get away from whatever situation that you're in that's not serving you, because God is love. And I hate to use the word serve, but it's serving, because as Christians, and not even Christians, I don't even want to make it about Christians, as human beings, if we are going to be the best of us who God created us to be, we have to learn how to allow people to treat us the way we would want to be treated. And it ain't right if it don't even have to be an addict. It can be a cheater. He could be verbally abusing you, him or her, verbally, mentally, emotionally abusing you. That's not love. Sometimes love is just not enough because I've been in all those spaces, and I'd rather be alone. And this is why I'm 10 years celibate. And I love this place. I love this place. But sometimes now my kids are like, "Mom, we don't want you to be by yourself all your life," and I'm like, "Well, I was with the same man for damn near 45 years, so more than half my life. So you know what? I'll see what God says. I'll see who God sends me."
Understandable.
That
Understandable.
makes sense?
No,
Okay.
it absolutely makes sense. How do you want to be remembered outside of your former relationship?
Oh my gosh. I want to be remembered as a woman that moved in love, that moved in peace, that moved in dignity, and that moved it with God. Like, that's who I want to be remembered as because no matter what comes against me to tear me down, to tear my reputation down, I don't retaliate because I know who my God is. And to have angry, bitter energy, I don't want it to live here. What people do to try to hurt me has nothing to do with me. And I'm not going to allow them to take me out of my space with God. I got work to do. I'm on a mission and I understand the mission. And there's dark and there's light. And in my book, I talk about demonic. There have been, I don't even get too crazy. I don't know if people are ready for this, but you know what? The biggest trick that the enemy, the devil, ever pulled is making people think that he don't exist. He is real, but God is more powerful than anything. He got his tricks, he got his plots, but he can never win with me because I know who I am and I'm rooted in God. So that's why I had to break it down. I move in love, peace, dignity, and God.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's where we can go ahead and park that in terms of that. So you've had such an amazing journey. It feels like you've got a lot more things that you are ready to do.
I'm just getting started.
I know. Well, let's talk about some of the projects and things you have on deck outside of course, your book and some of the things that you're doing.
So a lot of it I can't just talk about just yet, but I
Okay,
mean because nothing's signed and set in stone.
got you.
But it's happening. God is moving. So I definitely have a couple of offers to do a book on my life story. Like not a book, I'm sorry, a movie on my life story.
Okay.
I have some offers to do some like scripted or unscripted, like reality show. I hate saying reality show because I feel like they've messed it up so bad. But I feel like it's the time now where someone will come out with a show that's so raw and so real that people will tune in because it's going to bless and heal their soul. So that is really like me being open and honest. And the drama is not the drama that's been out there, but real life situations and how I'm dealing with it, how I'm moving through it so gracefully, like that. So I'm in talks right now to doing something like that, and the person gets it. The person's like, the time is now. They want all that negative stuff before. People's hurting right now. They need something real and honest and raw. So that's one of the projects. I think I'm gonna do another book after this. I'm gonna give it a little year to, because I'm getting my feet wet in this place, in this space. But right now, yeah, I don't know. It's so I feel like it's a lot that hasn't came to pass that I know is coming to pass, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. All right. Well, we just appreciate you coming by, giving us all of this knowledge, all of these lessons,
Mm,
and of course, being the blessings and the manifestation of what can really happen when someone lets God into their life and into
yes,
their spirit and into their walk.
yes.
So, if you could
Amen.
tell everybody where they can find you in terms of online and all your different platforms and outlets, where they can find you and what's going on with you.
So, where you could find me is all Tashera. Okay, Instagram is the real Tashera Simmons, but Facebook is Tashera Simmons. TikTok, Tashera Simmons. Wait, I said Facebook. TikTok. Threads, Tashera Simmons. And Snapchat, right? Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is the real Tashera Simmons. I don't know why that. I don't know where. I think someone hacked me, so I had to put the real Tashera Simmons. But it's all Tashera Simmons. You'll see me. My arms is up, and I'm praying to God. Where you can find my book. I'm directing traffic to Amazon. Amazon, Books A Million, and Barnes and Nobles. Please go grab the book. It will bless your soul. I promise you.
There you go. There you go. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate everybody who locked in. Make sure you get Dying to Sell, Tashera Simmons' book. And of course, I know you've got some other books that you've brought out in the past as well. So make sure you check out her entire catalog. Please make sure you subscribe to Hip Hop United on iHeartRadio app to hear more great interviews like this. Please select Hip Hop United. Put us in the presets. We appreciate all the support. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tashera Simmons.
Hey.
Dying to Sell.
Dying to
Let's
Sell.
go. Hip Hop United with the check-in.